Hey everybody, it's the Trout. This guitar basically has no intrinsic value. It's just some wood, some metal, and some plastic. But when you teach somebody how to play the guitar, well, it could change their life forever. And my guest today, Bernie with Guitars for Vets, talks about how their organization has changed the lives of thousands of vets with PTSD by teaching them how to play one of these. It's a great story, and I think you'll like it. Remember, Guitars for Vets, how music therapy can change people's lives. And that's next on KT and the Trout.
KT and the Trout Show!
When did Guitars for Vets start? Whose brainchild was it?
Guitars for Vets was started about 2007 by Patrick Nettesign. Patrick is a guitar instructor, and he was working out of a music store up in Milwaukee at the time, Cream City Music. And one of his students was a Vietnam veteran with some severe PTSD issues. And as they were going through the lessons, they realized that it was helping him. And neither of them are clinicians, so they kind of put that under their cap. And then as they started going on with the lessons, they decided that, well, let's take this to a VA and see what the VA thinks about it.
Wow.
And then they went to the Zablocki VA up in Milwaukee, and he started giving lessons. And they found out that it really does help veterans with PTSD. And that was the beginning of it all. And they went and Patrick started the nonprofit.
Right.
They got a board of directors. They've got it all, federally licensed and what have you. And that's kind of how it started. And it grew.
Started in Milwaukee. And then he said, well, who was the somebody that said, we have VA hospitals all over the United States. Somebody had to, whether it was him or they kind of said, woo. But then you got the scaling situation.
Right.
So how did it all, let me add, how many locations do you have? I know you have people kind of in quadrants and things like that, but
We've got about 118 chapters right now.
118. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what would you say the ultimate goal would be?
Well, the ultimate goal is to give the veterans a positive experience. We don't pretend to try and make veterans Wes Montgomerys or Jimi Hendrix or Steve Vai's in 10 lessons. We can't do that.
No.
But what we want to do is give them the tools that they need, or a tool to help them deal with stress and whatever issues or challenges they're facing, and just to give them a positive experience. It's not to become fluent guitar players. It's if they come out of the 10 lessons and they feel better and they have something that they can use to help their lives become of a better quality, that's the goal.
And these are all prescribed by the VA. Is that how that works? Do I understand it right? Kind of?
Well, yes and no. When the program started, we were closely affiliated with VAs. All of our chapters were at VA facilities.
Okay. They gave the lessons right at the hospital.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And there's a myriad of reasons for that, but that's the way that was the platform for the program when it started.
Right.
Recently, we branched out into trying to, and again, a lot of this was driven by COVID, and a lot of it was driven by several other factors where you reach a saturation point in any entity where how much more penetration can you get into the VA system?
Right.
So we're now looking at having non-VA locations. So we'll have maybe at a VFW or a church or a civic center where we can bring the veterans in. That presents more challenges to us because now we have to vet the veteran and certify that they are in fact veterans and whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the VA does that when we have them at the VA location. We do that. And another thing to keep in mind is that when we're at a VA location, all of Guitars for Vets volunteers must become VA volunteers. So we get background checked.
Smart move.
Yeah. And so when we have these at the remote locations, we background check all the volunteers ourselves.
Okay.
We do that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where we are now. And again, we lost almost 3 years due to COVID. So we're back then we were starting to branch out into these different versions, and it got stopped. So now we're back on that path again.
And then, so let's just go with the VA version now,
Sure.
and then we'll talk about the VFW in a minute. But anyway, so they say, okay, do this, and then I know it's all under HIPAA. You can't tell anybody who they are. I mean, I saw the pictures on Facebook. You can use their first names, obviously, because it's still HIPAA related.
Yeah.
And then they go in, the local instructors go in. How long does it take to do the 10 lessons? How much time is that?
Well, we give the plan is
Right.
you give 1 hour a week for 10 weeks.
Okay. All right.
Now we're dealing with a multitude of our own challenges here, as is the veteran. There's a saying out there that says there's over 2,000 VA facilities in the country.
That's what I was
And if
gonna
you've been
ask
to
you.
one VA, you've been to one VA.
They're all
They
yeah.
have their own idiosyncrasies and management styles.
Right.
So at Hines, where we have our chapter, we are a registered activity under recreational therapy.
Okay.
So a veteran hears of the Guitars for Vets program, they go to their social worker or care provider there and they say, can I get into Guitars for Vets? If we have a chapter at that location, they get a consult or a reference to the department, and in most cases it's recreational therapy. They take their names, make sure that they're suitable for the program, and then they become part of an activity within recreational therapy.
Okay.
So then they get scheduled for the 10 lessons. The therapist, when they get it, when they're ready to start the program, they get scheduled.
So it's like going anything medical. This is what it is. Now, are they individual or are they always group? Or does
No,
that
they're
depend
individual
too?
lessons. They're individual lessons.
They're individual. But I think I've seen, don't they occasionally get all together when they've all kind of?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, that's an optional exercise that we encourage for all the chapters to do.
Right.
And a lot of that is then based on logistics within the VA, whether you have the room or whatever.
Right.
But
Yeah.
what we do is we generally, at least once a month, we ask anybody who's been in the program or just anybody to come in and sit in, and we jam for an hour or two.
That's cool.
And that kind of keeps people engaged and what have you. Again, that got cut back because of COVID, because of, distancing and space requirements and masks and what have you. So, but that's what we used to do. And we would get anywhere from 10 to 30 people at our group sessions every month.
Well, and as a musician yourself, when you start playing with other people, it makes you better. I mean,
oh yeah.
Well, I mean, there's even if people have had 10 lessons, always going to be skill sets that are completely different.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But it's the camaraderie. I'm sure that's the other part that they see. These people and I saw there was a woman today that was on Facebook, I think, that got a guitar. But that's another thing, because then you're all playing together, and you're not embarrassed. I mean, you may be, but you're not as embarrassed to say, here, play a C, D, and G chord. And 10 minutes later, I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'm nervous. But when you got all those people there that have the same issues,
yes,
I think that would make a big difference too.
It does. And what we do is we try and bring as many of the instructors in as we can for those group lessons. Not lessons, they're group sessions.
Right.
So if somebody's having a challenge, one of the instructors can go over and sit with that person and help them work through that particular issue.
That's a good idea.
It's really it's one of the most satisfying things I've been doing, in my life. So I can't. I'm a strong believer in the program. I've seen it. I see it work.
Well, I think the other thing about it for me is the fact. Well, I'll just tell you straight up. You guys, not a lot of people know about you, and I understand that. because I know about you because I looked into it, and I said before we were trying to put something together to raise money for you here in the Dallas area, but um, it's kind of like when I talked to Gibson Foundation people and they started telling me everything they were doing. Not everybody knows what they're doing, and and it's just like you doing this for all these people and wanting to expand it, and that all takes time, but more people should know about it. I think
Yes.
because it's one of those things that more people should talk about. But you also, I assume from our discussion earlier, you don't really have a physical office, or is there a physical office, or you all kind of work out of your homes or something? How does that work? I'm talking
Well,
about I'm talking about the management side.
yeah. Well, there is a physical office, but it's that's in flux right now because you have to rent space somewhere,
Yeah.
and then
Well,
that
that
whole
costs
dynamic
money, and that
changes.
costs money. Yep.
It does. So we're always looking at that, but there's very few paid employees in Guitar Vets.
Well,
Most of them are
yeah,
volunteers.
volunteers. I understand that.
Yeah, most of us are volunteers, and we've the way the company's structured, you can work remotely in
Right.
any one of the
Okay.
management functions. You don't.
Yeah.
There's no need for face to face, and we were a small company when we started, and fortunately, our executive director has a very strong background in finance. So we realized that as much as we wanted to expand very rapidly, we couldn't. And now I'm going
Yeah.
back to like 2010,
Yeah.
12,
Right.
14. We had to manage our growth so that we didn't expand so far out we collapsed on ourselves, which is
Well, and in the nonprofit world, that can happen because
it's
there is an
very, yeah,
assumption, as you well know, there's an
yeah.
assumption for people that go in the nonprofit world think that, oh, people are just going to give you money. That doesn't happen.
No.
And the other part of it is, this is a statistic a lot of people don't know, that majority of people that donate to nonprofits, majority of the money does not come from big corporations. It comes from individuals. I think it's like 60 or 70% come from individuals. And the nonprofit I used to work with, they did a study nationally, and the average person that gave money was over 60.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like $23 or $25. So it's not like, and because everybody goes, oh, look, so and so gave us $1 million or whatever. That doesn't happen very often. So you have to count on the community to be able to support it, and
Yeah.
and I mean and takes money to do these things, because people like, it's like you can't go out and get on a plane. Well, let me go out and I'll go speak in front of this group. I'll speak in front. Somebody has to pay for it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's, and then it's like, I'd like to go down to I don't know, Miami to their event and big deal, um, but the other part of it is too that I wanted to ask you, and you mentioned it early, but so you come to this point where you go, okay, they got guitar, but they don't know guitars. So who was the first? I want to give kudos to these people. Who was the first manufacturer or guitar store or whoever said, I'm going to start donating some guitars to Guitars for Vets? Do you remember
Well,
who that was?
we initially started working with Oscar Schmidt in Washburn, uh,
Okay.
but they didn't donate guitars to us. They gave us guitars at a wholesale, at a
Okay.
very very fair price,
Right.
and they would do the shipping and everything for us.
Right.
Like I said, we moved on from them up to Craft Music, and again, Ben Kraft uses Craft Music to personally donate a number of guitars to us every year,
Right.
a large number.
But
But also
where do the
because
guitars come from? What manufacturers they
well,
come from?
Ben is one of the, if not the largest Yamaha dealer in the United
Ah,
States, if not
okay.
the world. So
Okay.
we give our students FG 800s, which are
Okay.
really nice guitars. They're solid top, like a double O dreadnought. They're really nice guitars. And again, Ben manages all the shipping and back office work for that, and that he donates to us. So what we look for in terms of getting guitars is corporate donations, people
Sure.
who want, and then we each chapter runs several fundraisers a year. They try
Right.
to, if they can, and we try and pick up a couple of $1,000s for each chapter to do that.
Mm.
And then again, the accessories. Hercules donates stands to us. TKL, Gig Bags, Tom
Mhm.
Doherty one of our biggest contributors. He's donated thousands of gig bags to us, thousands.
Oh, for those people that don't, just so I can tell, that's a guitar. It's a guitar case. For those people who don't know what a gig bag is.
Okay.
Because a lot of people don't know what a gig bag is. So
Okay,
for those listening that don't play guitar, there's hard shell and there's soft shell, and a gig bag is a soft shell case. People put all their stuff in, and the guitar, obviously.
And these aren't bottom line gig bags.
They're
these
nice
are
cases.
Yeah. So Tom's a Vietnam veteran like myself, and he's just been so generous. Alfred Music donates a guitar book, a Guitar for Vet branded guitar book.
I did see that in a picture. I thought it looked like a guitar book. I saw the picture and I thought, does that say Guitars for Vet music book or something like that?
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
And that's Alfred Music, and they've been just so generous with that too. So I mean, we have a lot of people who have been generous to us over the years, and that accessory bundle has grown since the company started. We gave them a guitar,
right?
And now we've worked our way up to where we give all of these accessories out, and of course we look for people to donate those.
Sure, yeah.
So it's a labor of love, and you're right. Nonprofits have a challenge. And if we're fortunate, if you look at our 1099s, and again, like I said, we've had an excellent executive director managing us from the finance side, and our goal for giving money to the program is 68 to 72% is what goes back into the program. So our overhead is very low.
Yeah.
And so
well, and that's another thing, because you see it occasionally that some of the big nonprofits, they get beat up for not giving much back to the person, and I get a little irritated when I see people making $1 million a year or $2 million a year working for a nonprofit. It's like, really, But that's neither here nor there. But so then so they get the gig bag and all that stuff, and how do you not codify, but how do they know that you mentioned earlier that they get better? Is it something the VA has? Obviously, you've sent so many of these now that when do they see it? Do they see it at the very beginning, or people getting happy? I mean, I'm not happy, but get better. Because I would assume to a certain degree, some of these people you give guitars that you're kind of finished with your 10 lessons, but they still coming back to the VA.
Yeah.
And I guess they would see that positive result then when that happens.
Well, see, there's a huge challenge there.
Okay.
The VA has no formal process to evaluate our program, and there's a plethora of reasons for that. And I think that would bore your audience to death, but it involves HIPAA and it involves the VA bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So we just know that, and we as third parties are not really allowed to interact with the students to that capacity. So we've just instituted a new voluntary feedback process, but that's just in its genesis now, and we have to try and work. And it's been approved. It's okay. We can do that, but it's a real challenge to quantify the success of the program.
That's the word I was looking for. Quantify. That's what I was looking for.
There's been one study that's been done. It's up on our website. If you go to look, www.guitarsforvets.org, and if you look at that, you can find references to the study, and it shows the efficacy of the program. But getting people to do studies is in and of itself a challenge, because you have to find somebody who wants to do it, and then you have to pay for it and whatever.
And so a lot of it's anecdotal. I understand that,
Yes.
but I would, as an instructor yourself, Bernie, you've seen it. You've probably seen the positive just from your own personal experience.
Well, people have asked me. I've been doing this 12 years now, so people have asked me, what's the best success story you've had? How what did your best student do and become and whatever? And I said, that's not
what we're trying to do. Yeah.
I said, my most emotional part of this came, I had a student who had neuropathy. He was in a wheelchair.
Okay.
And we had to get him a nylon string guitar so he could his hands were so sensitive. So we gave him the nylon string. After 10 weeks, all this gentleman could do was play 2 chords, an E minor and an A minor. And he was so happy.
Oh, I'm sure.
The last lesson, he sat there and he says, play this with me, Bernie. And we just sat there and strummed the E minor, and the A minor. And we both had tears in our eyes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this was the most, to me, this is success.
Yeah.
You know, it's not I had a shredder, I could go, you know, I made another Jimi Hendrix or Wes Montgomery. No, this guy, this was where the program shows its benefit and how it helps people. And that's a hard message to get across, because people say, oh, guitars are best. You know, how many bands can this guy play in? And what's, you know, no, it's not what it's about.
No, and they don't understand the PTSD. They do not want to go out and tell everybody they have PTSD. That's another side of it. So the last thing they want to do is say, hey, I just went to this training for my PTSD and watch me play guitar. They don't want that.
No.
They don't want that. And the accomplishment of being able to play an E minor, A minor seems like not much, but if you can't do anything, it's big.
It is.
And believe me, I still remember learning how to play guitar. You and I are probably close to the same age, but when the Beatles came up, that's when I picked up my first guitar, and I got the Beatles book, and I saw an F chord, and I went, I'll never be able to play that. I mean, how do you hold that string? You know, and I worked on it, and it was, and that's just an average guy, and then or ladies trying to play the guitar. So now so as you've grown the business or the organization, and you said something about wanting to go to the next level. And I can see this becoming an issue, but a positive thing, because I just think about friends that I know that go to the VFW or the
American Legion.
American, they're friends of mine that go all the time to it. They're not players. One of them's a good friend of mine. And I like to think about is how many people I could bring in there to give lessons to that really need it. Because they would know, the people that come in there would know the ones that would probably need it. The other thing you said was you have to do background checks. Well, normally those aren't free either. So you know
we pay for those.
Pay for those, and it depends on how far back you go and how you decide what you're going to do with them and all that stuff. So all that's logistically it's possible. But the other thing is too is the fact that you have to have good people. There's and I don't mean this derogatorily, but an instructor and a business person and a management person and a marketing person and keep going, all wrapped in one person. I mean, if you're going to, to go, like if you're going to go to American Legion or VFW, and say, I mean, just like where I'm in, there's several around, they're kind of all over the place. And unfortunately, because of the age factor, they're kind of fading away because
they are. So sad.
Sad. I mean, I wish it wasn't a VFW, but that's the way it is. But because it is Veterans of Foreign Wars. So you got to kind of have that all wrapped into one. And I see from watching people that I've followed on LinkedIn, some of that I've discovered, the ones that are really knocking, blowing and going, trying to make their local chapter bigger, and I mean, trying to do the best they can. Because then, like you said, then they got to put an event together. Not everybody knows how to fundraise, and that all is a complication to it. But the thing that's important to remember is what happens after all that's done. After all that's done, and people, and you're right. People are like, "Oh, are they playing with Sammy Hagar, or who are they playing with?" No, it's not that.
And it's we vet our instructors. Somebody, a lot of people say, oh, I'd love to help, let me be an instructor,
right?
And then the protocol generally is that you will invite the instructor to sit in with you while you're giving lessons and observe them and see how they do, because giving lessons to a veteran with challenges is far different than giving lessons to somebody who's paying for the lessons or whose parents are paying for the lessons.
Right.
So we have this philosophy called PAGE. It's patience, acceptance, gratitude, and empathy. And that's the model that we use for our instructors. You have to approach your instructions with that set of qualities.
And the very first word is Patience.
Patient. Yeah. And it should be every other word, because, again, I'm not sure who your audience is, but if you're not familiar with PTSD, it's a combination of being overhyped and anxiety at the
A lot of
same
anxiety.
time.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to focus. And if you're medicated, it's even more difficult to focus. So we have to be able to deal with that. And for that very reason, we don't have a curriculum. We don't, there's no 10 weeks, there's no lesson 1, lesson 2. No, we use the Hal Leonard Method Book 1, which is the basic beginner's book, which, by the way, Hal Leonard donates to us. And
I can't believe Hal Leonard is still around. It's just amazing.
Oh gosh, yeah. They're the nicest.
It was
people.
Mel Bay when I was a kid, and Hal Leonard. I remember those two.
Yeah. And we use their book, but we don't have a curriculum or a set of goals to make, because this is supposed to be a positive experience for the veteran. And if they feel or sense in any way that they're not living up to their goals or their challenges, that imparts a sense of failure to them.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing that we want to happen. We are asking the veterans to come in so that we can help them and give them a positive experience. So everything we do is geared towards positively reinforcing what they do, no matter how minimal it is.
And typically, how many students does an instructor see? Just an average, would you say?
Generally, they'll teach 2 a week.
2 a week.
That's general. Yeah, that's there's a lot of reasons for that. Some people are gung ho. I'll teach 10, but
well, you can't. You can't get 10 people. I mean, I understand, and I would assume most of these people volunteer or probably have jobs. They have work. They do something else for a living, most likely.
Right.
And so you're asking them to come in and do it, and then if you start, it's not like you said, it's not like guitar lessons where a teacher has 60 students. It isn't like that where you just 30 minutes in, you're out.
No.
It's an hour of, and I understand why it's an hour, because patience is a virtue.
Yeah.
And I don't care, eventually everybody gets frustrated because the instructor has to have patience, but the student has to, they're getting frustrated, and it's like, well, that's all for today, and I I can see why you don't turn it into a 3-hour event or something like that.
Right.
And so I think it's a wonderful thing that you guys do. And what I'd like to see is, and that's why I have you on the show, is more people be involved in it for a myriad of reasons. Getting people maybe to volunteer is not that difficult. Having people volunteer that stick with it is probably a different situation.
Mm-hmm.
People after 10 lessons go, I don't think I want to do this anymore, because
it's challenging.
It's very challenging.
And just to interject, that's one of the reasons why we recommend just 2 hours a week, because when you're dealing with people with this many challenges, it can get to you.
Oh, sure.
It can have an effect on you.
Yeah.
So you don't want that to happen. You don't want to burn out the instructors.
Yeah.
So the idea is, this is how we do it.
Well, and you were talking about the regulations. HIPAA is a regulation. I mean, it's both of them are federal government related, and we know they love regulations. And it's something you would like. It would be great, and this is where you could kind of go the other way with the VA and American Legion. Is you don't have that many regulations, but you still, as an organization, I mean, when it comes to all that stuff, but as an organization, you still want to make sure you got the right people in there. That's why you have to do the background check, and you still have to have that. And I just think it's still logistically kind of a nightmare to a certain degree. But that's also probably why you start on a small scale, because you can't do 100 people. I mean, I can see people going, "Oh, wow, I want to teach 100 vets. Hey, let's go."
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't work that way. And I mean, that's somewhat frustrating, I guess, if you're kind of motivated in that situation. That's why I think the other thing is probably why you keep it down to a smaller number.
Well, it is, and the 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 plan or the management philosophy is, if you start off as an instructor or a chapter coordinator,
Right.
and then if you have done that for a while, then you can advance into something maybe a little bit more robust and a little more challenging within the organization, still as a volunteer. And but there are certain people that are suited for that and some that aren't. And some people might
Right.
want to do more, might want to do more, but you can tell that they're not really the right person for that.
Yeah.
But you want to keep them, where they're still doing something positive. And and again, with 120 chapters thereabouts, I mean, it's difficult to manage that. Uh, Especially since, I mean, when you think about it, you've got somebody managing 120 coordinators and 500 instructors.
It's a lot
And
of people.
that's a lot. It's a lot, and it takes it's a lot of work.
It's a small company. I mean, when
Yeah,
you
it
think
is.
about it,
Yeah.
it is. And so as chapter, they'll have X amount of students, but I mean, then you try to expand that out and to keep growing the
Yeah.
organization, it takes the right people. And like you said, I've been managed myself. Sometimes you get people that just don't fit what you want them to do.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do what you want them to do. And it's
No,
difficult to find people that are kind of can do a lot of different things, because
it is.
you don't want to discount people that just do want to, they want to be teachers,
Yeah.
instructors. But then other people might want to, oh yeah, I can grow this, I could do this,
Yeah.
especially if we're going to go outside the VA, we can do it. But
Yeah.
then they're managing a group of people, and if they've never been in management before, they may not know how to manage people. And
Yeah.
it's, yeah. So I understand the difficulty it will be to continue to expand, but you guys have a great model already. You already
Yeah, we
kind of
do.
already know where it's already gone. And if you get outside the purview of the VA, then it kind of can blow up. But then it could also, like you said earlier, you could collapse on yourself if you get too big. I mean, we can all
Right.
talk about internet companies that started out really big and they're not around with us anymore because
Oh,
they
oh
got
gosh. Yeah.
fast.
There's just innumerable examples of how that happens. Regarding the expansion, one of the challenges we have is at the VA. Um, and people don't think about a lot of this stuff when they embark on it and on an adventure. So we have a room where we give our lessons. We have 3 instructors on days, each teaching 2 students per day, right?
Okay.
And we do that
Gotcha.
once a week.
Okay.
But we have this room that recreational therapy is allotted within the VA building,
Okay.
and they have to schedule that room. We just can't go in and say, oh, we want to, it's scheduled
Yeah.
out for 6 months, for a year. If we wanted to expand and add more instructors during the day,
It might
we
take a
would
year
have
to be
to
able to do
change
that.
that room and then or have it on a different day. Well, you can't have it on a different day because you have to have a rec therapist with you when you're giving the lessons. They have to be in the vicinity
Uh,
to oversee it, because
I
we're
never
not
thought about
therapists.
that. Yeah. So you
We
got to
don't
have
give
a,
we're not therapists. We don't give therapy.
yeah.
So if we're going to act as a function like this, there has to be a licensed professional there with us.
Right.
Now, they don't sit there and hover over you, but they're there
But
in a
that's a
room.
very valid point, because you don't think
Yeah.
about that. You think about people coming in and going, okay, people, let's sit down and do our lessons. You got to have somebody there with you, or like you said, close by, because if this person has a problem or something
Oh
like
yeah.
that, but also they're managing or watching what you're doing, so it obviously gives it credence to do that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And that's an employee of the VA,
Yeah.
which means they can't just be there whenever you want them to be there. I mean, it'd be nice, but it is
Yeah.
government, so it's like
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
it's very black and white. There isn't
It is. It is.
eh, so so you had the Yamaha guitars and a lot of these things that people give
Mhm.
out. That looks, it sounds to me like they're from what you're describing and the product line, it's still a really nice guitar that they're getting.
Oh, that's a
I
nice
mean,
guitar.
I don't know, and this is probably a funny way to say it. They should get a lot more for what they did than just, they should get more. Now, and I'm not talking about you understand what I'm saying, because of
Yes.
what they've
Yeah.
done for our country.
Yeah.
And that's, you're thinking, well, they get, let's say it's $1,000 worth of stuff. What do they do to get the $1,000 worth of stuff? Where have they
I,
been?
yeah.
So it's minor compared to what it's on the scale of a guitar and stuff like that. It's great. It's not a $5,000 Gibson Les Paul, but they're not going to play it anyway. But it's
No.
still a very nice guitar that they can learn how to play on, and with all the accessories on it, if they continue on, which would be great. And maybe one day, you never know. I mean, somebody might want to get out and do more than, even if they got two or three of them together and say, hey, let's go out and do,
Oh yeah.
you
And
know,
there's a lot of examples of that. But again, that's not the goal, so we don't stress it. But there are numerous chapters that have had people go on and form little groups within their chapter, or
right.
just and again, it's not like it's just getting together with your comrades and doing what you want to do, and um, music is there's a musical instrument museum in Phoenix, and it's a great place. But their motto is music is the language of the soul,
Yep. That's true.
and that is just so true. I mean, sometimes we don't think about it and we don't recognize it or acknowledge it, but it's there. You look how much music moves us and how much it
Yeah.
brings up memories. And when you're playing the guitar and you're holding it against you and you feel it vibrate and you become one with it. It's
Mhm.
tactile. It's such a healing experience for veterans. It's wonderful.
So in the future, is there you said how many VA hospitals are there? You told me
There's
earlier.
over 2,000 facilities. They're not hospitals. They're
Okay,
facilities.
yeah, because I have one
Yeah.
close to me. It's not a hospital; it's a facility.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
hospital is in Dallas. It's a big hospital down there.
Yeah.
There's one in Fort Worth, but where I am, about 10 minutes away, is a facility.
Yeah.
So the VA hospital is an hour
Right.
drive for me.
But you can have them at facilities. We have chapters at those facilities.
Okay.
They're either called like CBOCs or vet centers. They're smaller scale, and they have targeted. They have a targeted mission, and I don't want to get into that, but
No, but yeah, but yeah.
they have a target audience, but we still have chapters at those locations, so we
So
can.
you're standing in front of a group of people, and this is a good place to segue to this. What do you want people to do? What's I mean, obviously you want donations, but
Yeah.
what I mean, if you could do a 30-second, I'm not asking that now, but you get the elevator speech, but
Sure.
what are you guys always seeking out all the time? Are you seeking, obviously you're a nonprofit, you're 501(c)(3), so you're always looking for people to donate, and all that stuff will be on the YouTube video, and people can see that where
Hmm.
they can donate. We always suggest to donate. You don't have to donate a lot of money. I
Yeah.
mean, even the accessories aren't that expensive. Those are all helpful because people are like, well, I'm not going to give $500 for a guitar. It's not, you got strings to go with it.
Right.
So what's the number one thing you pass the money thing? Are you looking for more instructors, or tell me if you're talking to the world now, what would you be
Yeah.
looking for?
So aside from the money, and just to put a little uh, information around that, it costs us about $200 in cash to put a vet through the program.
Okay.
That's what it costs us. So
All right.
if you want to sponsor a vet, $200.
I didn't even think about that. $200 will cover it
Yeah.
in raw
So
cost. Okay.
so then if people say, well, we can't do that, well, volunteer.
Yeah.
Offer to volunteer. You don't have to be an instructor. You can volunteer and help us fundraise. There's a bunch of things that you can do. Outreach, whatever. You can
Okay.
volunteer.
Right.
And then one of the other things that it's near and dear to my heart. If you're walking down the street and you see a veteran that's sitting there, busking or thing, throw $1 in their jar. Don't judge them. Don't judge homeless veterans.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're up against.
No.
So, be kind and look at them and be empathetic to what these people have done for their country and now what they're going through. And then the third thing I would say is you want to make sure, and I'm not getting into politics specifically, but I'm saying you want to make sure that you elect people to government who truly will take care of our veterans.
Yep.
That's the thing. So there are a bunch of ways you can help.
Well, and I think I was going to ask you, because if you don't play guitar, there's other things you could do. And I know people that are probably good at fundraising,
Yeah.
or they're good at, hey, I know a graphic artist, we can put something together, or I know from guys that there's a lot of things you can do on
Yeah.
that. And it is important for people to know also that My feeling about the government has always been the same. We've never done as much as we should for the vets.
Right.
Never have. I don't care who the president is. We've had some that have done better than others, but it's still in a situation that it just irritates me that these people
Yeah.
give out, maybe come out with one leg or whatever's gone, and we still, farting around trying to figure out. And it's like we give billions of dollars to another country, and it's like, why aren't you taking care of your own people?
But
That's enough
to that point,
soapboxing, but that's just kind of the way I feel about it.
yeah. And I've had people make that same point to me, and
Right.
my answer to that is they're not. It's not a binary choice. They're not mutually exclusive.
No,
You
they're
can
not.
you can help other countries, but you need to help our veterans. They don't have.
I
It doesn't have to be one or the other, and that's
agreed.
a false narrative that
Yeah.
politicians throw at us. They're
Yeah.
not. It's not binary. They're not mutually exclusive.
No.
So if you want to help a vet, you can disregard all the other noise.
Yeah.
And just like you said, fundraising. Um, you've been in management, so you understand not everybody has every skill set.
That's exactly
So
right.
you might not be an instructor, but you might be the most organized person in the world.
Yep.
So you go out, okay, you can become a chapter coordinator and get instructors who are good instructors, and then you can handle the fundraising and then work with your instructors to teach. You don't have to teach, but there's a place for everybody if they're willing to volunteer. That's the only thing it's the only way I can explain it.
Well, and I think that's a good thing to be able to do. And so do people ask, I know how people ask me when I was at the nonprofit, if you're a chapter and you said $2,000 for the fundraiser, does that money stay there?
No, no. And there's a reason for that. But
And
if
that's
you've been in
okay. I
a
just want to know what
nonprofit,
happens. Where does it go?
yeah. So for instance, if I go to an event and I raise $2,000, so
Right.
that's technically 10 guitars, right?
Okay. Right.
But that money, because we're a 501c3, that money has to go back into the national budget, the
That
national
makes,
account.
yeah.
Because if I keep it locally, then I'm money laundering.
Well, yeah, and I'm not saying that, but I mean,
No,
eventually
I understand.
it comes back to the people that,
Right.
right. Okay.
So what happens is that $2,000 goes into our general account, and then every year we evaluate all the chapters, and the chapters say, I can graduate this many students this year. I have the capacity, and I think I'll be able to graduate this many students. So we allot them graduation slots. So in other words, we budget for
Mm.
you to be able to graduate X number of
Mhm.
students. And part of that evaluation is based on how much money they've raised the prior year,
Yeah.
and what their current throughput is, and how many instructors they have. Uh, you can say, oh, I can graduate 50 students next year, but I've only got 2 instructors. No, you can't.
No, you can't.
That's just not going to happen.
No.
So, I mean, that's where the management side of the program comes in, and they look at that and they evaluate that, and then they apportion out the budget that we get from our board every year, and they apportion that out among the chapters.
It's funny when we had volunteers at the organization I was running, and for some reason, people thought that everybody that was there was a volunteer.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, why do you need money? And I go, well, the building takes electricity, water, food, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And my wife came up with the best line that I ever heard. Uh, Paid people show up all the time, volunteers don't.
Yeah.
And I don't,
Oh,
because they're
gotcha.
volunteers. So if
Yeah.
you're paying somebody, they're going to show up and work. Volunteers,
Yeah.
everybody can have a altruistic approach to everything and go, oh, this is a great organization. And I think the other thing you probably see, and I'm sure you've already seen this, people have a burnout it's hard. It's nothing wrong with the person. It's hard to
Right.
keep people motivated doing it year after year after year. They
Oh,
just,
yeah.
and I don't think it matters what nonprofit you're doing with.
Oh, no.
They might give you a year. It's like board members. It's like you might have a year or 2 years, and they're like,
Mhm.
okay, I need to go into something else. So that's the other part that people don't see.
Yeah.
That you and I both have seen that part
Absolutely.
of it. So,
Yeah.
and you got people that they really do well for a year or two, and then are like, I'm just kind of tired of it. And
Yeah.
it's not like they're giving up. It's just that it's a lot of, they're volunteering and it takes time to do it. So I've
It
always
does.
appreciated the volunteers. When we had a golf tournament once a year, we always had a lot of people show up, and I appreciated all of them because they're out
Yeah.
there, it could be 100 degrees out there and they're standing out there helping people, with the golf game. So it's amazing to see how things work when they really work. but the background of it is there's a lot of work that goes into it. And
Yes, there is.
so, and when it was set up originally, and he probably had this concept, well, I'll do this, and now look where you are, 120 chapters, and I think we could keep going. And it's like, you're starting to move a big rock up a hill then,
Yeah,
and it takes the right people, because eventually people like yourself, you eventually, I always told people, always try to hire people that, you're going to be around, because you may not be around that long. You may
yeah.
retire, go on to something else, and
Hmm.
you got to have the right people behind you and keep going, because guitars aren't going anywhere.
No.
I don't think we're never going to not have a military. That's never going to happen.
Oh no.
And we're still going to be involved in some conflict somewhere, as just being the country of the United States of America. So that result is always going to be there. And
It
I
is.
can see it is, it's interesting too. And I was sitting there thinking a while ago, you're talking about, because there's other PTSDs that are not military related.
Of course.
And I'm thinking, that'd be kind of like, that could happen to, police officers, or, I mean, there could be a myriad of things that people could do. And,
Sure.
and going to, finding people that want to do it. And you said about the music thing, that's why I do this, because I'm a musician. I like to talk to people, musicians, and people involved with the music industry all the world. But I decided to do something about the nonprofit side, because people don't know about it.
Yeah.
They just don't know that much about them, and they may not care that much, but if they're involved in it and they go, oh man, I'd rather want to do that. And sometimes it's easier to get people to, especially if it's music, creative side of what we do. Would you like to be involved with helping people play guitar? Oh yeah, that sounds cool. I mean, that's different than saying, would you like to go raise money for a golf tournament? Well,
Yeah.
I don't play golf. I don't know anybody, it's a different
Exactly.
animal.
Yeah.
So it has that niceness to it, that has more of the creative feel to it. And if people want to believe that somebody's going to turn into the next Jimmy or whoever, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But it's the little part of it, and I would be interested in knowing, and I'm not asking this question, the families of these people, what they say. I mean, because they see it in their spouse, their brother,
Yeah.
that's got to be kind of cool too, to see the result that they see from it.
I can tell you personally that I've had partners, children, whatever, of some of my students come in either during lessons because the student wasn't able to get themselves there on their own,
Right.
or
Okay.
to come into the group sessions afterwards, and they all say the same thing. This has made such a difference, and it's allowed the student to cope. I mean, and that's what it's all about. How to make your life
That's your
better.
payment. That's your payment.
Oh
That's
yeah,
that's your
absolutely.
check right there.
I mean, I tell people, I said, I'm retired. I'm a veteran. I've been playing guitar since the 50s. I mean, I can't think of anything else I'd rather do than this. I mean, I really can't. So this is,
So what did you, let's talk about you personally. What did you do? What was your life before? I mean, obviously
uh,
you did something.
I had like 812 years in the telecommunications industry. I started out as a technician in New York. Um, I wound up going to AT&T. Then I came out to Chicago as a manager. And then in 1998, I retired. Then I went to work for Lucent as a technical sales support specialist. And then in 2002, I left Lucent. Then I ran into Patrick, our co-founder, it was like 2009. I ran into him at a guitar show, and he had a booth at a guitar show about guitars for vets. Now, at that point, the organization was only 2 years old.
Right.
So I said, oh, gee, I'd like to do that. And he said, well, we can't do it right now because we don't have the money to add another chapter, but
Right.
we kept in touch, called, emailed, and whatever. And then finally that fall, he said, okay, we can start a chapter, go for it. Took me 6 months to get the chapter started at Heinz. 6 months.
Months.
I had no idea where to go. So I did that, got the chapter started. Then I became national chapter coordinator. Then I became director of operations. And, slowly as a team, we built this whole infrastructure. And
Right.
then after COVID, it just like, I got to stop doing this. It's going to kill me. So I went
Yeah.
back to now I'm the chapter coordinator. I'm still teaching, which is
Right.
what my first love was, which is what I
Right.
wanted to do. But the organization's in good hands, and we're gonna really flourish, I think.
All right.
Thank you again for the opportunity, Rick. It's much appreciated.